Hi, this is Carson with Troy, and I have with me fantasy lit RPG author Dakota Krout. Now, Dakota has written a number of series, including Full Murder Hobo, The Completionist Chronicles, Divine Dungeons, Damsels in Distress, Cooking with Disaster, and not only that, he is busy running a company, Mountaindale Press, who includes a number of authors. Dakota, go ahead and introduce yourself, introduce your company, whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So first off, Carson, dude, thank you so much for having me on. It's always fun to come in and have conversation with people, and it's one of those things where uh, it happens less than I expect. People always want to have that conversation, and then like yourself, you're like, I figured you're busy. No, man, like that's a huge thing. I love being invited on a show. So if you guys if anyone watching this is doing something like this, I love having these conversations. So please, feel free to reach out. Yeah, I love what I do. I love writing books. I have, as you mentioned, a whole bunch of different series, and um, I have, let's see, at the end of this year, I think I'm gonna have 57 total total books that I've written. So that's a ton of fun. I've been doing this for just shy of 10 years at this point. And yeah, so Mountaindale Press is a publishing company focused on lit RPG cultivation and game lit titles. So those three specifically. And we have a bunch of fantastic authors who come in and do amazing work. So if you're looking for anything in those three genres, you can look at any of my titles, or you can look at anything in Mountaindale Press, and it's going to be in the bounds of those. So come check us out, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I have read some of your works, fantastic. I would recommend them to anybody. So if you're looking for a good game lit RPG, cultivation, look up Mountaindale Press, any of his authors. I just finished Nikolai Ganila's
Yeah,
Dissonance, fantastic. So, and that's one of your authors. So,
absolutely. He's great.
yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
fantastic. So, Dakota, speaking of your books and your worlds are so rich and detailed. When you sit down to write, do you already kind of know what's going to happen, or do your characters sometimes hijack the plot and go off on their own way?
So there is a lot of conflicting opinions on this, and so I will give my perspective. So when essentially, in my mind, if someone says, "Oh, the characters hijacked the plot," that means that they didn't have a good enough understanding of their own work, right? So what I do with this is typically I'll spend almost 2 years prior to starting a series building up the series, right? So all of the stuff that goes into it. So that'll include like characters, plot lines, the magic system. That's a huge thing for us in the genre that we write in. And so it's really important to me to have a really good understanding of how all that's going to interact and how the characters that are in the system are going to come along and work with it. So what I mean by this is typically what I've found, because I work with a lot of authors, I have a lot of conversations with authors that I don't work with. The people I find that come in and say, "Oh, I was writing, and all of a sudden the character went off the rails, and it totally made way more sense because of how that's just how it should have been." Typically, what that's going to fall into is like a personality model of that character, right? So if they've like done the personality work to design that character, so like say, hey, this is kind of how they are. They're more empathetic, they're more intuitive, they're like all of these different aspects, and then they've written them down and they've created how that character should interact. What you're going to find is while it's not always going to be a perfect one-to-one map, you're going to have a lot better um of a chance of understanding how to write that character in the first place so that you can create the plot line and have the character follow it, right? So if you know how your character should react, because here's a situation and it's a negative situation, and so they need to react to that in a negative way and try to turn that situation around or fix it or stop it or something to that effect. You should have a good understanding of how that character with that personality, with that power set coming through on that plot line you should know what that outcome is when you get there, right? So typically when you get there and you're like, wow, the character did something else, you're basing that off of someone in real life that you know who has that same personality. and you're like, oh wow, that's how that person would react. Even if you don't kind of think of that in the moment, you're going to be like, hey, that's how a true reaction should look. And that's when you really see characters that go off and do their own thing, is because it's just a closer to real personality that you've put in there instead of these cardboard cutouts. So that's kind of where my head is on that stuff. So if you understood that word salad, you have a you have a promising career when you're reading through these books. So.
So when the characters kind of do that subconsciously in your head, like you're relating it to somebody else, and it kind of goes what they would do. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I've never heard that before.
yeah, I firmly believe that. And so whenever I'm making characters that have like serious, important meaning to the plot, and they're not just going to kind of pop in and be a part of things for a short amount of time, I'm going to build out what their personality model looks like so that I can react how an actual person should or would react in that sort of situation. And again, they're not always perfect because situations will influence people in real life just like they would in a story or should in a story, right? Otherwise, you get a lot of people that will go along with your main character for no good reason. They don't have their own motivations. They don't have their own reactions to how they do things, so on and so forth. So just it's important to know your characters in your story if you want to do something longer than one book, right? So I guess this is more series work, but still.
So 2 years developing, a series, like
Mhm.
what kind of building blocks do you do before you start?
Oh, sure. Um, so I do what I call system first series or system first series creation. And the way that works is usually I'll have a really cool idea. Like, hey, here's a really cool power set, something I really want to explore. And so give me an anything at all in your head, real quick.
Starbursts that give you powers.
Starburst, like the candy.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so you're like building. Okay, cool. So what I would do is I would say, first thing first is we have basically these candies that is it one person who has that power or anyone who eats these gets a temporary power.
Just one. And this is probably a bad example because there's lots of books that do this.
No, no, it's great actually. It's really good. So, what I would do as an antagonist is I would be like, hey, I would take first that power set and I would say, here's what is going to happen, and here's the different flavors of Starburst. And this one will, like eating this green one will give you this power set. Even eating this yellow one will give you this. Red will give you this. And then if you intermix them, there's going to be a little bit of interplay, but then both of them will have problems, right? So there'll be benefits to mixing them and a big detriment to mixing them as well, basically to create an economy of magic right there, right? So you can say, hey, doing this, I can have like pure red will give me this, pure yellow will give me this, but if I make orange, problems. Um, and then I would say, okay, so I have that power set. So how do I explore that out? I would say, okay, so the system is I am eating these super sweet starbursts and they give me powers, right? Or this person. Okay, so now I have this system. That is the magical system, basically in its like most base reference point. And then I would say, okay, so now I need a reason for this story to exist. So what is my villain? Okay. So my villain, so I have the sweet candies. I'm gonna say, well, I have the sweetness. Now the antagonist is gonna be someone who eats salty foods. So we have sweet and salty, right? And they're gonna be just going at it because one of them is sweet and one of them is salty, and so therefore those two can never be the same, right? And then for some reason, like we'll have that whole thing. So now I have the system, I have the antagonist or the reason for the story to exist, and then underneath of that, I'm gonna say now I need to find a personality type that can go through and use this power set and go against this antagonist without without causing a situation that just is super contrived. So I'd say, all right, well, what personality type would like to go in and have a bunch of like sweet candy and go off and have lots of fun and be fighting against like the salty faction? And this would be an obviously less serious story for me. So I would say probably instead of using ENTJ TJs, I would use probably Enneagram for this. And I just say like a type 7 archetype which is the enthusiast, right? So the enthusiast is going to go out there and be enthusiastic about stuff, and they're going to be like, "Hey, you know what's really cool? Watch this. I can fly, wee!" Right? And so that would be my personality type. So now I know how the system works. I know how the power set works, and it would be very well mapped out, right? Like here's how all this works, all the interactions, all the detriments, all this stuff. I'd say here's the enemy faction, and here's their power sets and how that works. And here's the personality that can navigate through all of this. And so um since I have all of those things lined up, I can say now I have to at the end of the book either like based on what the bad guys are, I have to either defeat them, um, befriend them, or um, essentially lose to them, but you don't really want that. Or somewhere in between the other options, right? And so I had to navigate all of that. But since I already know what the personality type is and how they would react in positive and negative situations, I can make this plot like the individual outline for each individual book based on that very easily. So I know what I can do, I know what they can do, I know how I react in situations. The plot line writes itself. So that's how that works for me. And so it's an intricate system, but it front loads the work of writing the whole book series, which is why I can write 5 to 8 books a year, right? Is because once I have all of that work front loaded, I just had to sit down and write the book. So, exhaustive answer. I hope it was great.
No, 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 that was fantastic. And for anybody listening, like go back and rewind that because that was a masterclass in writing a book. Like just that short 3 5 minute answer was a
Thanks,
masterclass.
man.
So like
Appreciate you.
no, like developing the powers, but you mentioned something hopefully they caught it. Like benefits and what's opposite of benefits? I can't think of what word.
Detriments.
Detriments, yeah, benefits and detriments. Like
Hmm.
you have those lined up, and then you start with the antagonist. Sounds like
Hmm.
of like how can I prevent people from enjoying these powers or doing these powers or
Right.
whatever, and then your protagonist and ENTJ personality types if you're familiar with those. Um, and what was the other one? Anagram, Alan?
Yeah, so enneagram. So it's
Enneagram. Okay,
ENNE. So just if you start with that, it'll populate on Google for you.
yeah.
So that's just 9 archetypes, going from 1 to 9, and basically it just has kind of basic overlay of how those people interact. There's a lot more complex interaction than an archetype. Most people are not an archetype. They are like this is their main thing, and then they have these strong opinions as well, or these strong like factors because people are not cutouts, right?
Right.
They're people, right?
Another personality type that you might look into is the DISC system.
Oh
For
yeah,
those
that's a
that
great
are,
one.
and you take a test on that, and going back to what you said, like you're not just one thing. Like the DISC system, like usually like you're two strong ones, and then you're weak in the other one. So like
Mhm.
there are personality things out there that you can look up. Those are a few of them.
Yeah.
So fantastic answer.
Oh, thanks, man.
Seriously a masterclass for people who are looking at that. And going into like building this system and whatnot. When you're building your game systems in your books, do you approach it more like a programmer balancing code or like a dungeon master setting traps for players, or
Uh,
neither?
uh, a little bit of both. So I started my career as a programmer, right? So I have a degree in software engineering. I did a lot of that, a lot of like technical work in the army like that as well. And I joined the army when I was 17. Um, did a lot of stuff there. So I was in the army for almost a decade, and then I was I went to school and then got my degree while I was still in the army. And so I was very technical person for a really long time, but I was also really into like board games and tabletop and obviously Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. And in fact, I get to play D&D with Luke Gygax, who's the son of Gary Gygax, who created D&D, and we play regularly. Like we chat on the phone, we like hang out together, and so like that's just one of the coolest things is like being able to do the things I love and then know people who created that. That's one of my favorite things. So for myself, when I am when I'm creating a system, typically what I'm going to do is I create something that I call a open formula system. And that means that anyone else who comes through and does things the same way should be able to get the same power set, right? Very rarely in my books do I create someone who this person is the chosen one and therefore they get all these specialty things and all like and they are the only one. In my most recent book, that actually came out Monday, so that would be August 11th. Untapped, right here, this beautiful one. This is book 12 of the Completionist Chronicles, which is a chunky boy, right? This like I brought a different book just for comparison, right? It's like if I can get these to line up next to each other. So this one is 552 pages of just glorious, fun
Glorious
stuff.
awesomeness.
Yeah, fun times. Yeah, exactly. And it was in this one, I am shifting essentially from the hero archetype into what is so if you know writing, so there's a bunch of different archetypes with actual writing. So there's the hero's journey, and that's typically where most stories are going to start. But then you can move from there into the soldier's journey, the king's journey, and then the wizard's journey or the sage, right? And so I'm moving from the hero's journey into the and heroes and soldiers into the king, where it's not him being a king, it's just him in a position where he's done so much groundwork, laid so much groundwork, built so much stuff that now it's time to start delegating and letting other people run things so he can go out and do the cool stuff again, right? And so it's the start of him building that foundation so he can go out and do cool stuff and come back to a still functioning guild, right? And so that's a lot of fun to have that shift because I'm now a little over halfway through the series. It's going to be 20 total books.
Nice.
And um and so like having that is super necessary for the groundwork of finishing out the series as this super powerful character. And so I'm having a ton of fun with it. But yes, sorry, back to your original question. Do I build this more like a software or more like a D&D? It's somewhere in the middle because I like the software aspect of it where other people can come in and they can do the same thing that I do. Or if I ever had co-writers or like spin-off series, I could say, here's the system, and you can play in the same system because I designed it. So anyone can come in and do this, right? And you can follow the same rules and you're not going to break them by doing what you want to do over here because the rules are easy to follow. And so uh somewhere in between because you do have to have a bit of a technical understanding, but it's also fantasy, right? So yeah,
That's awesome.
there I am.
And the story that you're doing that you're building on now kind of sounds like your journey with Mountaindale Press, where like, you were writing and doing that, and then,
Hmm?
you kind of built, and so you got to do the fun stuff
Oh
again,
yeah, absolutely. So
kind of
I love
allegorical.
Mountaindale Press. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to build up the company and kind of kind of yeah, exactly what you're saying is about 6 years ago I started Mountaindale and the um it's been really fun to do all of that and build all these systems for people to work in and build that network of really cool narrators and artists and editors and all of these positions and stuff like that. And for the longest time, you're right. I did all of that myself or myself and my wife because my wife is a massive part of my company. And then we got to a point where we're like, hey, it's either like this is impacting my writing speed, right? So I need to either shift something or like it has to go away because I write books and that's my main focus because I love that. And so it was like, hey, why not hire people to do the job, right? And so that's almost the same thing is going from doing all that work yourself and really building that foundation and then having to kind of hand that off and like piecemeal to other people to run things is really tough, but it's also very liberating and very freeing. And it provides a service to everyone. Like I'm no longer a bottleneck. This person has a really fantastically paying job with really meaningful work that helps a lot of people, like other authors, narrators, editors, post-production, marketing, all of it. And yeah, so it's great to be able to provide meaning and purpose and pay to other people instead of having to do all of that work myself, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, lit RPG, game lit, cultivation, it's such a unique genre. What originally drew you to it, and what keeps you excited about writing years later?
So what drew me to it actually is so I'm one of the first five American authors to have written in the genre. And so when I started, I didn't know the genre existed, and it actually technically didn't exist yet. And so it was just it was just kind of an offshoot of not quite cyberpunk, not quite fantasy. And then we just started doing we started meeting each other. We said, hey, so my first series was Divine Dungeon. And so that's this guy right here, Dungeonborn, if you can see that in the background. Up here you have all five books in that series. And um that was my first foray into this. And so that was Dungeon Core. And so it wasn't really, it was cultivation, but it was not mainline lit RPG, and we didn't have the tropes to that yet. We hadn't really defined what the genre was at that point. But we said, hey, it's going to be a loose collection of lit RPG, cultivation, and what eventually became game lit. Um, and so I found that I loved writing it so much. So my second series was Completionist Chronicles that I started. So 3 books into Divine Dungeon, I started a new series, Completionist Chronicles. So that started with the book Ritualist. And that one I had started reading the other authors. And at that point there was like 8 of us. So it wasn't that hard to read everything that existed, right? So I did, like I read everything that existed and I said, hey, like I think this is going to be the direction the genre goes. So this is what I'm going to do. And um, so I wrote that and I've been writing it for now 8 years. And well, since 2017, I think is 20 no, 20, 2018.
That's
2018 is
like
when
2017.
Rituals
Yeah.
came out. And so it was a thing that I was right, like that was where the genre was going. And I feel like I really nailed it. And with this release of Untapped Book 12, the audio hit, uh top 50 in the entire Amazon store, Audible store. And so that's really cool to like still years later with that series be able to be among the top 50 people writing in the world at the time, right? So yeah, however long that lasts, could be a week, could be a month, could be 6 minutes, but it's cool to be able to get there with this kind of fan base. And so yeah, it's what drew me here was just my love for writing and love for the stories that I was telling. And what kept me here was the fact that other people also loved it, and we came together as a community, which is a really fantastic community. Like the authors are amazing, the fans are amazing, the podcasters are pretty dang cool. Hey, right, Carson? And yeah, so that's just kind of what's kept me here is how wonderful it is to be a part of this community. And so here I am.
No, I went to a writing conference like in 2021, and I remember them kind of joking about lit RPG like it's going to fade away, and it's not. It's getting stronger, and I love it. In
Hmm.
fact, I'm trying to write a series right now. Like that's kind of where I want to plant my flag. So like,
Cool.
it's an exciting new genre, and I've talked to people, including people in the genre lit RPG. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not really like a subgenre. It's just fantasy, and it's just it's just great. And well, you can say what you want about it, but it's a fantastic genre to be in, and I really
Yeah.
love it.
Well,
Um,
it is officially a genre.
yeah,
As of 2 years ago, we got a BISAC code, which is a library category code. So we are an official uh genre according to the library system, and therefore Amazon and Audible as well. Lit RPG and Gamelit is its own genre. So yeah.
no, it's great, and it's small. So like, if you are a fan and you want to meet some of these fantastic authors, like it's a great genre to be in, to be a
Hmm.
fan, to meet some of your heroes. Because you're not going to meet in a very relaxed setting. Like we just got done with Lit RPG Con where I talked to
Hmm.
Dakota. I met him at Author Nation a little while back originally, but like to hang out and sit down with some of your authors that you're like, you look up to, you're not going to find a genre where you can do that. You can't go
Yeah.
sit down with, some of the big fantasy names, Robin Hobb or Brandon Sanderson, in the same way that you can with Dakota Krauts and
Right.
even you know the Brian J. Nordens,
Oh yeah, Brian's great. I love
even
to
to
tease
extent
him. So
Matt Dinneman,
oh yeah, man. And that's one of the really cool things about this genre is we have extremely well-known and popular authors, and they're still also down to earth, and they want to be around fans. They want to be around other people and each other, which is not something you can really say about a lot of other genres. A lot of the times the authors there just kind of butt heads and they don't like each other. But realistically, in my genre, I don't think there's anyone I dislike, and I can just go to these things and be comfortable talking to almost anyone, and that's something that is really fantastic. It's really cool. Just walk in, you have like to Dragon or Lit RPG Con, and there was like what 1,500, 2,000 people that everyone kind of knew each other tangentially. Everyone was interested in what the other person had to say, and so you could just start a conversation with anyone, and it would flow naturally, and you'd move from group to group to group to group, and yeah, it's
yeah,
great, just
that's really
absolutely
cool.
fantastic.
Um, so many authors struggle with consistency, writing schedule,
Sure.
and whatnot. What's your process like, and how do you keep words flowing even on tough days?
Um, well, man, so if I may ask, are you doing outside of this podcasting, which is already really cool? Like I know you said you're writing, you're podcasting, but
So I'm a marketing specialist at a hospital.
so that's really cool. Now, would you say that every day when you get up, you're like, I'm gonna go and market the crap out of this hospital? Or are there some days where you're just like, oh, this bed is comfy.
I can go
Like,
golfing or fishing. Yeah,
yeah, I could do
no, that's
anything else.
you're right.
So, I mean, realistically, it's the same thing, right? It's when you have something that is your career, it's your career. So if you kind of like throw your hand back and you just, oh, it's too hard today, like, it's fine. There's always something on the list that isn't like so while writing and creating books is number one priority for an author because nothing sells your other books like a new book, right? And it's really hard to make money as an author without writing and publishing books. That second part, the publishing books, is a very important part of functioning as a full-time author. So while that is number one priority, there are always other things that need to be done, right? So if I'm working on this and I'm like, man, the words are just not flowing today, I'm going to say, okay, so what can I improve on? What else in my writing sphere can I work on to make it so that I am ready to go? And it might be something as simple as like, hey, I'm going to take 20 minutes and I'm going to take my coffee cups and I'm going to run these all upstairs because, every once in a while it gets a little muggy in here. You know what I mean? Um, it's sometimes it's like, hey, maybe the cleanliness of my environment is impacting my ability, right? Um, I also really feel that it is important for creative people to be in a creative space. So if you're going to be exhaling creativity into this thing all the time, finding ways to revitalize yourself and just kind of be in a thing in a place that gives you ideas or stuff like that is going to be really needful and beneficial. But at the end of the day, consistency comes down to not motivation, but the need and the desire to get stuff done, right? So I sit down and I write in an allotted time, Monday through Thursday. So I write from 9 o'clock till 3 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and that's my only writing time during the week, unless something like if I miss some time, like yesterday, I had to take a little bit of time off. So before our meeting today, I sat down and I finished a chapter that I had been working on yesterday that I didn't get to finish. Typically, I wouldn't do that on a Friday. I would do only administrative work. Now, that's just kind of the thing is if it's not administrative work, it's answering emails, it's going to social media, it's going and for short amounts of time because otherwise you could vanish into social media for a really long time. Um, but it's doing those other things that help your career when you are not actively publishing, like reaching out to friends in the author community, reaching out to fans, making cool things happen, designing merchandise, adjusting a blurb from a book that you put out years ago, starting an ad, whatever it is. All of these things are necessary for the author career, but remembering that actually writing and producing those books is the number one priority, and doing that is extremely important to having this as a career because it is very hard to be a full-time author without making full-time money. So that's kind of where I am.
Right. Like earning $5 on each of your 57 books is a lot better than earning $5 on one book.
That's true. Very true. Yeah.
So,
I'd like to earn that every day at least, you know?
right. Like, and then that might be small potatoes. Like you might, you want to earn a lot more, but
I mean,
it's
who
it's
doesn't want to earn more, right?
right.
Uh,
But
oh, let's me do more
writing
for
that
things for
next
other
book,
people. Oh,
correct. Writing that next book really does help you out for sure. That's
absolutely
that's
does.
that's great advice. And so when you're that time block, that 9 to 3, are
Mhm.
you looking to get specific numbers of like scenes done, word count, or are you just sitting down at that time and just whatever happens, happens?
So my thought is if I am in the environment that I need to be in and I am focused on the thing I'm supposed to be focused on and doing that work, then it's going to flow fairly well and fairly naturally. So I have a goal that I would like to get to every day. If I don't get there, but I feel like I've put in my best effort, I'm usually very happy, right? If I'm like, hey, I did a really good job on this, but I had to do way more work on my spreadsheet in the background to keep track of this than I had been expecting because like there was a lot of skill changes or like characteristic shifts or characters introduced, and I need to track all of this. Um, then I'm still happy because I'm building out what I need. I'm still doing what I need to do to get the book to publish ready. And but if I'm like sitting here and I'm like, ah, here's my phone. Oh, someone's texting me. Here's a call that took 30 minutes of my writing time. And by the end of the day, I'm starting to get pretty grumpy that I didn't do what I set out to do, right? And so that's kind of where my head is. If I'm trying to do this, I'm going to try and make it happen. So,
Now, I was talking with the author yesterday, and he said he doesn't like open tabs in his brain, and so like
mhm.
to close those off and get them done, it makes him happy. I thought
Yeah,
that was a great analogy.
absolutely. And the closer I get to being done with a book, the more I want to finish it. So what usually happens is I start a book and it kind of churns. But you get that flywheel going and like things are spinning, you're moving along, and all of a sudden it's a 12,000 word day, 3 days in a row, and you've written the book larger than you expected to, and you added in like a third of a book more. And so that's kind of what happened with Untapped was that's the reason it is my longest book to date at 185,000 words. It came out to 17 hours and 59 minutes of audio. Because I was just like, I started getting near the end and I was like, there's too much going on to just end this right now. And so it just kept going and kept going, and I loved it the whole time. And so that's one of the things is I really like what I do in the moment as well. And so there's nothing that says I must end the book at this point other than the book feels complete. Right. And so I can make big books. I can make books that are slightly smaller, but it's fun. It's great. And I like doing it. So yeah.
That's awesome. It's wonderful that you enjoy doing it. Like
Yeah,
it's fun
absolutely.
for you, you know. There are jobs where people do not like to go to work and it's a drudgery. And so
Hmm.
the fact that you found a job that you love,
Hmm.
passion for, like that's the goal, right? That's everybody's goal.
Absolutely.
Readers often connect with your humor as much as your epic battles. How do you balance comedy with tension in your stories?
Oh, okay. So this
I
is a
got
fun
I got
one.
to step back first. You were on the comedy panel at Lit RPG and it was hilarious.
Thank you.
And this was part of that, building humor and balancing it. So go ahead with
Yeah.
your answer. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. So my books tend to be more on the comedic side than the terribly tense side. And there's positives and negatives to that, right? Like some people want a more serious tale. Like I have like it's serious situations. There's like for the book, there's serious consequences for the characters and all these other things. But a lot of people like to I like to envision this as a balloon, right? And so they start blowing into their balloon, and the balloon is tension. And it fills up and it fills up and it fills up, and then they get to a point and they take a needle and they pop it, and it's a boom, like this huge explosion of tension, and you're like, whoa, no, oh my gosh, the end of the book is here. Um, what I prefer to do is I'll blow up that same balloon, and then I'll just take it and like let the tension out like a whoopee cushion, right? Just kind of take the serious situation and put a twist on it that makes it humorous, or takes away the underlying kind of gut reaction negative that you're feeling, and makes people go like, ah, come on, or oh, you so funny. And I like to do that with puns. I like to do that with kind of like dry humor, dad jokes. And um, that's kind of what I try to do with my main characters, because that's what I did in the army, man. Like there's a lot of serious situations, and there's and as anyone can tell you that has been in the military or like medical industry, you get kind of this dark humor that is not funny to anyone who hears it who is not already there, like and so what I like that's just kind of was my thing is I would take that situation and I would just try to inject some humor into it. And it served me well in life and got me through a lot of dark times. And so I wanted to be able to bring that into what I do now, and I did. And I love it. And most people will tell me their favorite joke, their favorite pun, the thing that really resonated with them. But my favorite thing to hear is when someone says, I got to that point and I had to put the book down and I walked away, but I had to come back to finish it because I was so mad at you. But then I was like, it's still good, and I got to read it. Yeah, it just makes me happy. So, yep.
That's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for your service, by the way.
Oh,
I
thank you.
forgot to mention that you were in the Army. And surprising number of lit RPG authors have been in the
Mhm.
military. So the more I
Yeah.
learn about people, I've been really surprised, more so than any other genre that I've interviewed. It seems
Um,
like,
yeah. Well, it's
and
a
and and
good
maybe my
place.
sample is really low, but
Oh, no, no. So it's true though. We have a exhaustive list of airmen and Marines and Navy. Well, not so much Navy, but just kidding. And Army guys especially. And we were part of it is we were in such a structured environment for so long that getting out of there, you needed to come and go from this rigid structure and just kind of add some free flow or some fun or some creativity to it. And so it's kind of a hard reversal from where we used to be. Is kind of what I see when I go into this is, hey, we had all this very rigid hierarchy for so long, and now we need free flowing fun stuff, but still need rules. And so that's, I think, where we hit into lit RPG. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's fantastic, and I'm grateful for everybody that served. I just sent my nephew went up and last week he joined the Marines, so on
Oh
Monday.
wow.
So anybody that serves, I give them credit. Um, I mean, man, thank you so much for your time. I got a few more questions. Try to
Okay,
keep
bring it
them
on, man.
short. What piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you first started writing?
Mm-hmm. Um, well, so I like to give the same advice in this career that I would give in any other career. And that is when you do a difficult thing and you get through it and you push past what other people are willing to do, that's when you have something that is worth doing, right? Because if you can take this and go with it, and when the trouble and the angst and the frustration hit, you just keep going and you push through that. It's kind of like going through a really dense forest uphill to get to the top of a mountain. And then you get there and you have this amazing view of this place that no one else or very few people are willing to get to, right? And it's kind of like just becoming a subject matter expert in any field. You start out not knowing what you're getting into, not really, because you don't know what the day to day of that looks like for years and years and years at a time. And a lot of people hit these hurdles and they're just like, man, this is too rough. It's tough. People are very vocal about their likes and dislikes, and they stop and they try something else that looks easier from the outside. But if they would instead push through that uninformed optimism and hit when they hit that wall of informed pessimism or cynicism, if they just push through that, you can get to on the other side of that is informed optimism, right? So like you know what's coming and you're like, it's all good. Like I've handled it before, I can handle the next thing, and it's going to be like there's positive outcomes. I know what the positive outcomes look like as well. And so I can keep pushing, I can keep going, I can keep climbing and making those things happen. So I would say push through the tough and remember that you need to take your nose off of the grindstone sometimes so you can see what's coming on the horizon. So, go and make friends, go and make community, be a part of things, and don't allow yourself to stay in a room being lonely for years at a time. Go out there and be a part of things. And so, various advice pieces there. So, just kind of mesh those together into one. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome, great advice. And anytime you go up that hill, not only do you see the views, but you're a different person. You're version
Yeah.
2.0, and then you try another hill and you turn into 3.0.
Yeah,
So,
man.
great
You got
advice.
bruises. You got bruises, whether they're physical or ego, man.
Yeah. No,
It's
and
a
you're
whole
stronger for it too.
so.
Um, you've inspired a lot of new authors. What's the most rewarding moment you've experienced from a fan or fellow writer reaching out to you?
Hmm. Um. Man, I mean, what's really cool is that there's a bunch to choose from. I get messages very often from people that were in the military or going through a hard time, like in the hospital or something like that. Well, they'll reach out and they're like, hey, I hadn't read for so long. I hadn't done any of this for a really long time, and then I found your books and it made me start reading again. Made me like fall in love with these things again, and it got me through this hard time in my life. And I think that's always super cool. I always try to respond to those people and let them know, you know, I'm glad that I was able to be some small part of their continued success and happiness. Um, but yeah, so all of that's cool, and I really love talking to other authors and helping them do what I do in a way that is a long-term thing. Like I love making career authors, right? And that's one of the reasons why Mountaindale is a huge, wonderful thing for me is I get to bring in authors who don't know what to do next and take them up that mountain kind of on, it's not an escalator, but it's certainly stairs instead of this, broken terrain where you have to figure out where to go and everything. It's still hard, but it's a heck of a lot easier than going directly through the forest yourself, right? And then on the other side, they get to have that same view, and I get a member of a close knit community, and I think that's really cool. So, yeah.
Awesome. Dakota, thank you so much for getting on with me today. Go ahead and tell people how they can get a hold of you, reach you, get your books.
Sure, yeah. So you can find my books on Amazon, Audible, Spotify, mountaindalepress.com, which is always great. If you buy from me directly. Otherwise, pretty much anywhere you can find ebooks, I'm there. Anywhere you can find audiobooks, I'm there. And then physical books, you can order them at Barnes& Noble. I'm working on getting them on shelves. You can get them, like I said, easiest is probably mountaindalepress.com or Amazon. And you can come in. Like I said, I have a bunch of series, and I work with different archetypes of characters. So I recommend finding something that you resonate with and starting there with my work. Like I said, I have 57 titles out, 57 books. So Completionist Chronicles is a big thing. It's a combination of combat and crafting. But my newest series this year, I'm going to have 5 books out, and it is Damsels of Distress, right? So these are kind of classic fairy tales that I've taken and turned into full-blown novels, lit RPG style. And the people that have read them so far have come back to me, and they are just blown away with how I was able to take some nostalgia and not quite modernize it because it's still like medieval sword and sorcery stuff, but turn it into something that is just fantastic for the genre. So I'm really looking forward to that just blossoming and becoming more and more robust and having people love all of this. And so my advice when you're looking for a Dakota Krout title, pick what resonates with you, and then once you're in, once you've had one book, you're gonna be reading more and more and more and more because they are fantastic and really hard to put down. So thank you guys, and thank you so much for having me on, Carson.
Yeah, not a problem. Any conventions you go into this year that if people see
Well,
you,
yeah,
they can come say hi?
absolutely. So at I think it's Memorial Weekend is Dragon Con, so that's gonna be in Atlanta. I will be in Atlanta this year, and I'm on a bunch of panels, and I will be at the Lit RPG Raid Extravaganza. It's like a 4 hour massive swarm of people, which is really cool. Um, other than that, I will be at Author Nation in Las Vegas this year in November. So if you're looking for something this year, next year I'll be in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin for GaryCon, which is D&D based on Gary Gygax, who created D&D. And other than that, Lit RPG Con next year in July in Denver. So yeah, so that's a ton of fun. And if there's a lot of interest, like, hey, Dakota, come out here, I'll probably go out there. So, all right. Just let me know, guys, and I'll see if I can make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Carson. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Troy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, and share with your friends.